Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
On the streets of the city, chaos is king. The world is on fire as freedom takes wing.
Hello and welcome to the latest All-American Spookshow podcast. I'm Josh and I'm joined here with Donnie.
Yo.
Tiana.
Hey.
And the Professor.
What's up?
And today we have a guest from the Hero Movie podcast, the one and only Mr. Bruce.
Thanks for letting me join along. I'm not as much fun as Willie, but I'll try.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot. He's not here. You know, it's almost like it's a given at this point. Like, you know, I'd say most of our listeners are going to be like, it's more of a surprise if he's actually here than if I say he's not here. We haven't done well, I guess what was the last Canon Fodder we did, Donnie? That was Frog Prince, right? So it's been a couple months.
That's the one that kind of, did it retire the bit for a little while when you had to do that one?
No, I think the holidays just kind of got in the way. I think we might have skipped a week or two there in the rotation. So it's been a minute. It's been, well, pretty much exactly 2 months ago when we did it, because that one came out November 13th. So it's time to return back to form here. And honestly, man, this one was a breath of fresh air that the random wheel spin landed on Braddock Missing in Action 3, because we did the Frog Prince 2 months ago, and then before that it was Emmanuel 4. So we had two.
Oh man!
And then we had.
I'd have had to say thanks, but no thanks on both of those.
I almost did on all of it. Like, we almost shut the whole production down. It's like, that's it, we're done.
For the people that 3 Emmanuel movies weren't enough, you got Emmanuel 4.
Oh yeah, and then they made like 10 more after that, right, Smoke?
Yeah, maybe not canon, but you had all kinds of other offshoots of Emmanuel, right?
Yeah. Ugh. The less said about that, the better. But like, even before that, though, we took a hiatus with Canon Fodder back during the summer because we had this Spookshow Summer Disaster. So even before that, it was Ninja 3: The Domination. So it's been a while to bring us here, to get us back to a pretty good one from Emmanuel 4 and the Frog Prince. So
such is the wheel spin, right?
Yeah.
Because we went to wheel spin just so that we wouldn't just unconsciously pick all the good canon movies.
Yeah.
We just leave it up to wheels, and sometimes the wheel is kind, but usually with that many movies on there and that many stinkers, you know, canon is beloved for all of us, I think, but there's no denying that they put out a lot of stinkers.
Yeah.
It really is like a crapshoot, because there's some good ones on their oeuvre, but boy, there's stuff I didn't even know existed on there too that I probably could have been just fine never knowing about it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully this isn't one of them. So, but before we dive into that and go into the background and everything, I want to throw out first that we encourage you to go over to aaspookshow.com. We call that the center of the Spook Show universe. From there, you can go check out our YouTube channel, where every month we have Hammer Horror and Order, Video Vortex, Grindhouse Gutter, lots of cool series over there. And, of course, the podcast episodes are uploaded there as well. Also from aaspookshow.com, you can go to our past podcast archives, every episode up until current. And you can also go to our Patreon from there, and also patreon.com/aaspookshow. And every month you get a video minisode, and you also get Crafterpiece Theater, we hate doing it, but you guys love listening to it, feature of Patreon. So, and this month we're going to have I dare say, like, probably a better than usual selection that we're going to be watching on January 26th. That comes out, and we'll be talking Stop or My Mom Will Shoot from 1992. So I haven't watched it in a very long time, so, you know, I'm just remembering in my mind maybe that it's better in my memory banks than it is, you know, whether it still holds up or not. I seriously doubt. I mean, it barely held up in 1992, right? So,
oh man,
it was not beloved.
No, but I'm telling you, compared to some of the stuff that we've had to watch on Crafterpiece, I think this will be beloved. So, but we'll find out at the end of the month. So, with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and toss the trailer for Braddock Missing in Action 3.
Saigon, 1975. Colonel James Braddock. Left behind more than memories.
Your son's name is Van. He's alive.
Now, 12 years later. He's not just a soldier going after the enemy. He's a father searching for his child.
You must pay for the crimes that you have committed against my beloved country.
Until he discovers a generation left behind. The orphans of a forgotten war. Now, Braddock is on a heroic mission of mercy.
Get the truck!
Chuck Norris is fighting for everyone who can't fight back.
Don't step on any toes.
I don't step on toes. I step on necks.
Chuck Norris. Braddock, Missing in Action 3.
All right, there you go. That's the trailer for that. So one of the main reasons, Bruce, that we asked you to come on here and that you wanted to come on and talk about something, a little project that you've had going on, right?
Oh, yeah. I have a short film you can see on YouTube. It's called Werewolf Fighter. And took me a lot longer than I anticipated. But now that it's done, I'd love for some folks to check it out. So you can go to YouTube and look for Bruce Leslie Werewolf Fighter. I think it's the only Werewolf Fighter movie you're going to find on YouTube. But if there is more than one, it's the one on the Bruce Leslie channel or at Anime Dads. Another way you can search for the channel. But I had a lot of fun, made it with my kids and some friends, some local theater people. And it was my first time trying to do something like that. And I'm kind of proud of it. I mean, I'm not trying to sell it for more than what it is, but it is a fun time to watch. It's 38 minutes with credits, 37 minutes if you want to skip the credits. And I say, check it out. If you don't like it, you can turn it off halfway. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, I actually went and checked it out myself, and it's a lot of fun. I'll say that.
Thank you.
It is a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be submitting it for any Oscars or anything like that, but
hey, now don't speak on my behalf.
Okay, well, for your consideration, then, Werewolf Fighter.
Are YouTube videos eligible for Oscars? Yeah. Maybe it's an Emmy. I don't know.
We'll get you a spot in Variety. Put it in all the trades. You're in business.
I just got to sell it as a documentary, and then it's really intriguing.
I did watch it on YouTube, and I didn't notice if there were any other werewolf fighters. So I don't know if that's going to ping too much. You might have the lead there. I
think that I cornered the market on Werewolf Fighter shorts. I really do.
Yeah. So we encourage you to go check that out. Obviously, Bruce is a big friend of the show, and we encourage you to always help out our friends. And we'll post a link to the video over on YouTube here in the show notes. So if you don't want to dig around, you'll see the link down below. So, all right. Well, as far as Braddock is concerned, Donnie, is this the first time you've ever seen this one?
No, I've seen this several times as a kid, but yeah, like bits and pieces. I'll say this. I think this may have been, I don't know, maybe the third time I've probably watched it all the way through, but I've seen bits and pieces of it over the years.
Bruce, what about you? Is this the first time you've...
I've never seen any Missing in Action movie. And, the strange thing is, I feel like I would have wanted to. I just never got the chance. Growing up, my dad had a VCR, but I spent most of the time with my mother, and we didn't have a VCR, so I couldn't even, rent stuff, didn't have HBO. So what I got to see was kind of spotty. But never seen any Missing in Action movie, so I thought, why not start with the third one?
That's always the best place to start. At least
I loved G.I. Joe as a kid, so this would have been right up my alley.
Well, if you're going by the George Lucas method of watching stories and,
yes,
it's not far off. But I want to say that the first time I probably watched this was like a completely mutilated, edited cut that was on local TV. I'm almost positive of it, Saturday matinee. Tiana, what about you? Is this the first time you've ever watched it? Or?
I think I've seen it a while ago. That's probably about from the early 90s.
And Professor, what about you?
I don't remember if this ever played in the theater. If it did, I know I didn't see it in the theater.
It did.
I saw it probably on video, and maybe this might be the third time. Probably not. I haven't seen it more than 3 times. I'll put it that way. Probably, yeah, I've seen the other Missing Action movies definitely more than I've seen this one before.
Well, I guess here's as good a time as any to go ahead and toss to Austin Trunick, author of the Canon Film Guide Volume 1 and Volume 2, which you can find on Amazon and various other places you get your books. Every episode of Canon Fodder, we always welcome him on to give his a little bit of background as only he can deliver it, and we call this Canon Chronicles.
Canon Chronicles with Austin Trunick.
Hey there, Spookshow listeners. Austin Trunick here, author of the Canon Film Guide series of B-movie history books. I'm here to share a few of my thoughts about Braddock Missing in Action 3, released on January 22nd, 1988. The title of this movie was, of course, inspired by 1985's Rambo: First Blood Part 2. While Chuck Norris's vengeful Vietnam vet James Braddock may not have been a recognizable household name in the same way that Sylvester Stallone's vengeful Vietnam vet was and still is, the two movies that Canon released first in this series, in particular 1984's original Missing in Action, have been big hits for Canon, with the initial movie placing first at the box office and launching Chuck Norris's career to an all-new level. Now, the Missing in Action movies may feature one of the most convoluted timelines of any movie trilogy, with the first movie taking place in 1984, the sequel actually being a prequel set in 1974, and the third movie opening with a scene that takes place in 1975 in between those first two films, and the rest of the movie set in 1987. I'm often asked whether the chronology works in this series, and after making multiple headache-inducing charts, it does work, I can say that. If you're willing to accept that John Braddock immediately returned to Vietnam after escaping from his POW camp, met and married a local woman in just a few months, and managed to father a child just before the fall of Saigon in April of '75. That's a pretty tight timeline, but it is technically plausible. Now, when it comes to Chuck Norris's Canon sequels, I personally prefer Delta Force 2 over Missing in Action 3, but this movie does have a lot of fun stuff going on. The ending, in particular, is delightfully crazy in my eyes. It has an injured Chuck Norris rescuing a truck full of orphans and then teaming up with his long-lost child to shoot down an enemy helicopter. I feel like that's about as Chuck Norris as it gets. I know that we are mostly horror guys here, so I feel compelled to confirm that yes, that was They Live's Keith David with several seconds of screen time right at the beginning of the movie. And if you're scratching your head and wondering where you recognize the actor playing Father Polanski from, it's probably just about any other Canon movie you've ever seen before. That actor is Yehuda Afroni, an Israeli actor who appeared in more Golden Globus productions than anyone else. You'll see him in The Happy Hooker Goes Hollywood, Dr. Haskell and Mr. Hype, Nana, Hercules, The Seven Magnificent Gladiators, Delta Force, Rumpelstiltskin, Sleeping Beauty, Hannah's War, Emperor's New Clothes, American Ninja 3, Sinbad of the Seven Seas, 10 Little Indians, and A Man Called Sarge. And that's not including any of the films he appeared in for Golden Globus back in Israel or before and after they took over Canon. That was a guy that Golden Globus liked, and whenever there was an opening in a movie, no matter who it was, they knew they could call up Yehuda and get him in there and put him in the movie. And he did a great job. Every role he's great in. It's a very versatile character actor. I do love that man. And on that note, I'm going to bid all of you adieu. Yeah, enjoy the episode, folks.
And in my limited research, I saw that Chuck Norris was watching like 60 Minutes or 2020 or something, and they did a little segment, a special segment on the kids that had been left behind, like with American fathers and, you know, the Amerasian children, as they call them in this movies. And when he saw that, he said, you know what, I want to do something for those kids. I want to make a movie where I pretend to rescue some of them. And then he has the little public statement, you know, at the end of the movie to tell people there's still 15,000 of them left over there. But I do feel like it was kind of personal for him. And I had also read that he was a little upset with Shocker that the Canon picture guys, Golem and Globus, he felt like weren't promoting his films adequately, and it was hurting his career.
Yeah.
So I know there was a lot of fighting over who would direct this, and it was finally third time's the charm when it just so happens, you know, a blood relative gets the directing job. The first ever directing job, and kind of ambitious. There's pyro and helicopters and like 100 extras in some of the scenes. Kind of crazy for a first-time gig.
It was actually supposed to be Joseph Zito returning to direct. He was the first director, but they had some, you know, the old creative differences line. And then,
and hey, if you got creative differences with Chuck Norris, you best walk away before he kicks you in the head or something.
Yeah, you're dead. Otherwise, just hit the bricks. And he did. And then Jack Smite took over for a minute, and then he faded away or went away, whatever happened there. And then it was Aaron Norris, Chuck Norris's younger brother, that actually directed it.
Did he ever direct anything else?
He did, although it was mostly just Chuck stuff, you know?
Because this is one of those things where you get the feeling that Aaron Norris got the credit, but maybe it's like a second unit guy or an AD did most of the actual directing.
Yeah, it's possible. That is totally possible. I mean, but like he actually did, you know, at least on IMDb, he went on. This was his feature debut. This is the first thing he ever directed. But he went on to do Platoon Leader, Delta Force 2, The Colombian Connection, The Hitman. So even one of Donnie's favorite, Sidekicks. So it was a bunch of Chuck's movies.
But I mean, I think I actually did see Sidekicks, but I don't remember it for some reason. But I got to say, for a premiere director, I'm impressed with what we got here. That's why I think he had to have a lot of help, or maybe even Chuck ghost directed it or something.
I think he's always, from what I understand about Aaron Norris, is he has gotten a lot of credit for writing a lot of Chuck's stuff, you know, or, you know, things that are similar to Chuck stuff, right? So it's a formula that he knows well, I guess. So.
I was going to say, it's not really like high art like Lady Chatterley's Love.
Yeah. No, of course not. The hell's wrong with you? that will come back up here in just a second.
And if I can like kind of keep horning in here, one thing too in my mind, you know, I think of Canon as a lower budget B movie kind of production company, but I kind of forgot that they're still, you know, they still made a decent film, because when I watched this at first and we got all these extras, I'm thinking, okay, they're using a lot of stock footage. And then I realized, wait, they're actually on a helicopter. They're shooting this in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. This had like what I would call a couple episodes of A-Team level budget. And I was impressed with that, because for some reason in my head, I expected a little bit less.
Yeah. And too, this was like later Canon, you know, this is probably one of the many final nails in the coffin, to be honest with you.
They've already blown through all the breaking money at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Have they made over the top yet? Because that's what put them down on the bottom.
Yeah, I think that it came out a year or two before this. So yeah, that's already in the past by this point. This was in '88. So maybe what Canon needed was a little Chuck Norris kick in the ass. But since Chuck's getting up there in age, maybe he's just not, you know, around. Maybe doesn't have the boost of energy he needs to give the roundhouse kicks like he could back in '88.
Oh yeah. That reminds me. We talked about the Magic Mind, you know, last episode.
Yeah, we were talking. Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that last week, and we've actually partnered with them to kind of give everybody a discount. But we can kind of describe exactly what it is before we get into that. Like, this is more of like, it's an energy drink, right? But it's more of like something you drink with your energy drink. So like, I guess with your energy drinks or your coffee or your tea, whatever you have in the morning to kind of get you going, you can drink a little bottle of Magic Mind with it in the morning, and you can get like a full day's boost of energy, and kind of helps you focus, which is all going to lead to better productivity, right?
Yeah, I actually did try it, and you know, one thing about, you know, kind of my experience was like energy drinks, you know, they keep me up all night. I'm usually up until the next day, which is dumb. But and they also, you know, just kind of increase my anxiety and kind of make me wig out every now and then. But yeah, since you know, trying Magic Mind, you know, I do, you know, you talk about, you know, feeling focused, and I feel more productive, certainly less stressed, and, you know, not as anxious as. And something else also is that I'm actually sleeping better.
Well, I think that really goes into what the ingredients are, the stuff that's in it, like matcha tea.
Yeah.
It's got ashwagandha, which that's specifically there to help reduce stress and anxiety. So
yeah, I take that anyway. I take little ashwagandha gummies, which I still take.
Yeah, so there's a little boost with your daily Magic Mind, and it's also got lion's mane mushrooms and cordyceps mushrooms. So it's loaded with all that good stuff. If you're into the natural ingredients type stuff, I think this is the thing for you. So really what you want to do is you want to go check out their website, magicmind.com/JAN All American. That's our link to get you there, and you put in the code All American 20 That's right. It's All American 20, all one word. And that will give you an extra 20% off, which gets you to a total of 75% off. Now, that code that we just gave you in this whole thing that they got going on this month, that's till the end of January. So, once again, it's magicmind.com/JAN All American, and then you put in the code All American 20 when you're checking out. You know, the benefits, I think you'll see the benefits like we did. We tried it out, and I think you'll enjoy it. So, check it out. To that, we'll go ahead and get into some of the background information. This was released January 22nd, 1988. Of course, it was produced by the Canon Group, Golden Globus Productions, distributed by Canon Films, of course. Rated R, total runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes, which is kind of long for this type of flick. On IMDb, it's listed as an action/war film. It was filmed, like Bruce said, in the Philippines, roughly from March to June of 1987. For a budget of $9 million, which kind of sounds pretty high for a Canon movie, to be honest with you. But it only went on to a worldwide gross of $6.1 million. So definitely a flop.
But adjusted for inflation, it was still less than they spent.
Yeah, well. When we have this, we always like to point it out. I've got the top 10 in the box office the weekend that it came out. So this was the weekend of January 22nd through the 24th, 1988. Number 10, Fatal Attraction. Good Lord, it was in its 19th week. So that thing just wouldn't die. Number 9, Return of the Living Dead 2. Number 8, The Couch Trip. Number 7, Throw Mama from the Train.
It's a good week.
Number 6, in its opening weekend, Braddock Missing in Action 3 made $2.2 million. And believe me, it had nowhere to go but down from there. Number 5, Broadcast News. Number 4, For Keeps, ? I've never even fucking heard of that movie. Maybe if I see some image from it or something, it might ring a bell, but I don't remember that one. Number 3, Moonstruck. Number 2, one of Smoke's favorites, 3 Men and a Baby.
Right.
And number 1, and maybe this is why Braddock didn't do well. There was confusion in the market. Number 1 that weekend was Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh man! So out of that whole list, I saw 2 of those in the theater, and one of them was Moonstruck.
So you actually saw Good Morning Vietnam in the theater?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
My dad took me to see that, and he took me to see Moonstruck. And I didn't ask to go see Moonstruck, but I did want to see Good Morning Vietnam.
Did it happen to be a double feature? Like you went and saw
that would have been the world's weirdest double feature, but no.
Only close to like if you just saw Broadcast News with Throw Mama from the Train on the same weekend.
Yeah. Somebody
out there did exactly that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's interesting to always look back when we have the top 10 numbers. But, we laugh. Good Morning Vietnam, it's like, well, you could see this really well done Robin Williams, Vietnam comedy movie, or you could see Braddock Missing in Action 3, right? So.
And I would have sworn that Return of the Living Dead Part 2 was a straight to video. So I was kind of surprised to hear that on the list, even though it's a fun flick. I watched it not too long ago.
It's been forever since I've seen that movie. I can't even tell you the last time. Actually, that was in its second weekend, Return of the Living Dead 2 that week. So it had already got probably most of its play right there. But yeah, it only grossed $6.1 million, which is kind of sad. And honestly, it probably should have done a little better than that, but maybe by that time, just everything, maybe there was Chuck fatigue, maybe there was Canon fatigue, maybe it was just, the marketing, like Chuck tried to blame it on. Who knows what all the
I feel like the Rambo sequels and Commando, there was like people that, even though personally I think I prefer Chuck Norris to the action movies of people like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, I just think that this really felt third rate.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine enough for what it is, but maybe just the concept of these movies that kind of played out by this point, because it really does feel like there's about 85 of these types of movies that were made in the 80s, the Rambo, whatever, let's go and
what the Vietnam War had been over for 14, 15 years at this point.
Roughly, yeah. One kind of downer note that we should point out, because I think it needs to be brought up if you're talking about this movie. There were actually 4 military and police officers that were killed in a helicopter crash in Manila Bay, literally like right around Memorial Day. So this was like towards the end of filming for this movie there in 1987. Is that what? Yeah, 1987 when they were filming it. And ironically, it was only like a day or two after the Twilight Zone movie Not Guilty verdict had come back. So,
and I think this isn't the only time a Chuck Norris movie had a helicopter crash with a death.
No, I think I saw where there was another one years later on. Ironic.
I don't remember.
I think it was.
Yeah,
Delta
I don't remember
Force.
what it was, but
think it was
I
Delta
feel like
Force
it happened
2.
in 2 of his movies.
Yeah, I think it was Delta Force 2, where it happened a few years later. But
And
yeah.
I think it was Ferdinand Marcos in charge of the Philippines at this time, and the guy loved Hollywood movies. At least that's what Joe Bob Briggs had said when he was talking about some movies made in the Philippines. And he would just let you use his military equipment if you made a movie there. Like you need extras, he'd send the army in to be extras. Like that's how much he loved the film industry.
And I think that's what this was a military helicopter that crashed and killed 4 people. So yeah, that was tragic. But I did think it was ironic that it was like pretty much right at the same time that the Twilight Zone movie verdict came back, like literally within days.
And I don't want to make light of something where somebody died, but I hope it wasn't one of those sweet rocket launching helicopters there that was at the end.
Yeah, I don't. From what I understood, like, and this was like an old article that I found on the LA Times at the time. I think they were just kind of scouting out some spots. Like, I don't even think they were shooting anything.
Oh, okay.
I think there was just some military personnel or police officers on here, and there was like one guy from the crew that was on the helicopter when it went down. So I think they were just scouting some locations or something when it happened. But and at that time, at least, I think they were just thinking it was just like an engine malfunction. I'm not sure what the final result on that was. I should have looked it up.
And once again, I feel bad for anybody who died, but I'm glad that there weren't like extras just trying to make $20. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
people just trying to have a little fun with the movie involved.
This was directed, like we mentioned, by Aaron Norris. That's the younger brother of Chuck Norris. This was his directorial debut, and he was actually an uncredited writer on the movie as well. But credited writers were James Bruner and Chuck Norris. Now, James Bruner, he had worked on the first Missing in Action, Invasion USA, the Delta Force, the first one, and of course Chuck Norris is Chuck Norris, so we know what we all know him from. He also stars in the movie as Colonel James Braddock. What do you think? Like, most people would probably, if you hear Chuck Norris, other than just resident badass, you probably instantly think of like Walker, Texas Ranger, maybe go a little bit further back, The Way of the Dragon, Invasion USA, right? Like, those are probably some of the first things that are going to come to mind.
What was the one where he's like in Rome and he fights Bruce Lee? That's what I always think of as my first like.
Yeah.
Which one?
And then there was that
different things, right? Dragon. I think it was Return of the Dragon on VHS, but technically it was Way of the Dragon, I believe, right?
Yeah, Way of the
And
Dragon.
then I was a pretty big fan of the Chuck Norris cartoon show for the 2 weeks or so that was on.
God, what was the name of that thing? Because I vaguely remember that. It's almost like that Rambo cartoon.
It was like Chuck Norris and the Junior Rangers or something weird like that.
Yeah, I don't think they can make those kind of cartoons anymore, right?
Karate Commandos. Chuck Norris and
That's
the Karate
it.
Commandos.
That's it.
It was right up there with the RoboCop adaptation with cartoons I used to love.
These are like cartoons they just straight up cannot make anymore, right? Like,
Yeah, on
Rambo.
R-rated movies.
yeah.
Toxic Crusaders, the toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic cartoon.
It is funny, like, you look back on it, yeah, they were straight up marketing R-rated movies to us, like to kids at the time. You know, here's the Rambo cartoon, buy the action figures. Meanwhile,
I'm surprised there wasn't like
and he's like ripping throats
camp-
out.
Jason Camp 13 cartoon or something like that.
I
Like a wacky summer camp cartoon where Jason Voorhees is just in the background as like a lovable monster.
I guess that's the one shark they wouldn't jump. You found it. It also stars Aki Along. I think that's how you say his name, is General Guac. He was in 9 episodes of the 80 series V. He was also in Dragon, Bruce Lee story. I mean, but he's been in tons of movies and television shows. Roland Harrow III is Van. This is Braddock's kid in the movie. You may recognize him from Kung Fu the movie. It was the movie based on the show Kung Fu. Unfortunately, he died. I couldn't find what happened to him exactly, but he died in 1995 at the age of 21. So he was really young, but I didn't see exactly what happened there. It also stars Mickey Kim as Lynn. This is Braddock's wife in the film. You may recognize her from Primary Target, and she had a pretty good run on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. So like 30 or 40 episode run on that. Yeah, as far as background stuff, that's about all I had. Did you guys dig up something else that I didn't mention here?
Well, this maybe isn't necessarily background on this movie. It's something we already mentioned, but it's weird that we've had 2 movies in recent memory that have had fatal helicopter crashes. The other one was Hands of Steel that we did on video.
And that one was cheap enough to where like they might have kept that shit in the film, right? Like the moment of impact might have been in there.
I think it went under the bridge, and they did it in trying it out before shooting or whatever, and it was fine. Then when they went to shoot it, they hit the pylon on the bridge. They did hit the bridge somehow and went down and killed. I think it was 2 people, right? A pilot and a stuntman.
Rough.
That was in it, and yeah. Another thing though about this one, and I don't know how much he did of it. We were talking about Joseph Zito directing the first Missing in Action. He was the original director attached to this movie and actually directed some of it. But what I couldn't find how much. And then Aaron Norris, there was a falling out between Chuck Norris and Joseph Zito, and Aaron Norris took over. So talking about that earlier, like I wonder how much of that was Zito and how much of it was Aaron Norris directing. As far as I don't know. I couldn't find any information on the ratio of scenes.
Now, I don't know how much they got done before Zito stepped away.
He was a second unit director. That was what he was listed as first. And that's all I could find is that Aaron Norris, second unit director, took over from Joseph Zito. But at what point, I don't know.
Yeah.
The only other thing I found was General Guac. Yeah, which is a great name. I'm going
to make a T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
I got an idea. Go ahead.
He actually plays Colonel Guac in the TV show Airwolf.
Huh.
Oh, I got real Airwolf vibes too from those souped up helicopters there at the end.
I still remember the theme song.
So you're suggesting that this is a universe, like this is a shared universe between Braddock, Missing Action, and Airwolf. It is possible.
Yeah, Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah,
and I guess if you want to loop in Devil's Reign with that, so.
No. and then you come back around to Michael Myers. It all fits, man.
It's time to refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand with a parade of items to tempt your taste. Hot buttered popcorn, golden good and fresh from the popper. Your favorite candies, wholesome and rich and full of flavor. Ice cream and other good things to eat. Plus, ice-cold Coca-Cola. So bright, so bracing, with a taste and tingle all its own.
For you, the listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So I went over, I didn't even bother typing in Missing in Action because that might have gave us some serious stuff to talk about. I didn't want to talk about that. I just typed in Chuck Norris to see what would pop up. And sure enough, we've got Against All Odds, My Story by Chuck Norris and Ken Abraham. That one is 7.5 hours of pure Chuck. There's another one here called Black Belt Patriotism, How to Reawaken America by Chuck Norris. 6 hours and 21 minutes, and it's just Chuck wearing a gi, like in full karate pose. So if the cover,
I had that poster.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's probably the same one. And let's see, the official Chuck Norris fact book, 101 of Chuck's favorite facts and stories by Chuck Norris. That one is just over 4.5 hours long. So there's a handful of other things here. And I'll let you go type in Chuck Norris over on audible.com and see those for yourself. So if any of that floats your boat and you want to go get your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. So now I'm going to hop on back over to imdb.com and click on the plot summary to see if we have a really long one so it can help Donnie understand what this movie was about. Oh, we do. We got a good one. First, we got the one sentence. Braddock mounts a one-man assault to free his wife and son who are still being held in a Vietnam prison camp. You know, that generally that would do. That's really all the explanation that's needed, right, for this. But no. RCS0411 at yahoo.com went on IMDb and submitted a little book for you, Donnie. Colonel James Braddock has a Vietnamese wife who was supposed to leave Vietnam with him when they evacuate, but she loses her papers and wasn't allowed in the embassy. Braddock went looking for her, and her friend took the bracelet Braddock gave his wife and was in an explosion. When Braddock finds the body with bracelet, he assumes it's his wife, so he leaves Vietnam. 12 years later, a reverend in Vietnam who was visiting the States approaches Braddock, telling him that his wife is alive and that he has a son. Braddock doesn't believe him at first, but when a man at the CIA asks him to meet with him, Braddock realizes it's true. So he tries to get them out. So he contacts a friend in Thailand to get what he needs. As they are about to leave, the CIA tries to stop him, but Braddock gets away, gets his equipment, and heads to Vietnam. When he arrives, he goes to the orphanage for Amera Asian children, where the Reverend works. He takes him takes him to them and is surprised to see them, and his son resents him because he thinks he abandoned them. The grammar here, right? They try to leave, but a Vietnamese colonel takes them. He kills his wife and subjects Braddock to torture. Braddock escapes with his son, whom he says to go to the orphanage. The colonel goes there and takes the reverend and the children to a prison. Braddock then tries to rescue them. So, like, there's only like one sentence away from the very end there. They pretty much explain the entire movie blow by blow, right? Good Lord.
That was your audiobook.
Yeah. We still encourage you to go over to Audible.
Yes.
Try those out, of course. But yeah, that pretty much explains it. So, yeah, as far as this is concerned, I think you got to start right from the beginning, the fall of Saigon.
I was really impressed with this. Like I kind of alluded to earlier, at first I thought they were just showing some stock footage of the actual fall of Saigon, but then it becomes clear that they couldn't get these kind of shots using stock footage. And for something that I went into with maybe some low expectations on production value, I thought this was really good. The chaos in the city, all the people running around, the thing where the truck rams into the embassy and folks are trying to jump over the barbed wire. I was impressed with all that, and I really enjoyed this opening part about the abandonment of Saigon.
Is that where the was the Viet Cong or some of the people there just beating on the already burned up cars and stuff? Is that the same?
Yes,
that's exactly what it is. They're already like burned up and extinguished, and they're still like wailing on them.
They're just
with
fuck this car.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie RRR.
No, I've heard good things, but I've never seen it.
It opens up with something similar where the quote unquote natives are getting restless, and then this action star guy just runs out and beats them all up. And I was really expecting Chuck Norris to suddenly jump out in the crowd and just like beat up 1,000 poor Vietnamese folks. But thank goodness that didn't happen.
Yeah. I think the only thing that brings it down, I agree with you, Bruce, that like this is well shot, like as far as what this is, it looks well, it's, reenacted, so to speak. It looks pretty good, except that music that they put under it. It sucks. Like whatever that was, I don't know. I didn't go back to see
they definitely missed. Maybe the reason that this lost money is entirely because of the music by Jay Chataway. Because boy, they make some strange decisions, even in the closing credits song.
Is it the same song that opens it? It's at least similar, right? Because they're talking about freedom and eagles flying.
It sounds like a guy who really wishes he was Lee Greenwood, trying his best to sing something weird.
Jay Chataway himself is kind of a hit or miss kind of a composer, right? Because when he does those types of songs, a standard traditional folk rock, whatever you want to call it song, not so good. But when he does the synth stuff, like he did the soundtrack to Maniac, I believe. Didn't he do RoboCop?
I think he's a big Star Trek guy.
Yeah, and that too. So when he does the synth stuff, I think for the most part it's all right. But when he starts to do those types of standard rock / whatever songs, not so great.
And it sounded. I wasn't listening to every word he said, but it sounded like every other word was eagles or freedom. Like
yes,
blah blah blah.
That's
blah,
where
blah,
the Lee
freedom,
Greenwood stuff comes into play.
Blah blah blah. Eagles fly. Blah blah. Yeah, it was.
It's
pretty
like
bad.
I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be rock, country, blue-eyed soul, and I don't think he could figure it out either.
And then he's just like, "Fuck it, it's a Chuck Norris movie. Nobody will really care. They're here for Chuck, not me." But like you mentioned in the description there, his wife Lynn is left behind during the fall of Saigon because he mistakes her charred up body for this other woman. And it was funny how they set it up too. Like this girl's like, she's trying to pack her shit to get out of there. And this girl's like, "Oh, you're just going to leave all this cool stuff behind? Can I take this and this?" And then she takes the bracelet, puts it on. So she's dressed exactly like her. So you immediately like, oh, this is going to end poorly. And then he's going to mistake her. Boom. Sure enough.
They even take the time to show us the flashback of him in bed with his wife giving her the bracelet.
Yeah.
Like, man, talk about a little bit of unnecessary exposition, but I guess they wanted to make 100 minutes out of this.
Yeah, well, they had to pad that runtime. Yeah, like they wanted to make sure they got their money's worth out of that $9 million that they were putting in.
And when they're showing that flashback where they're in bed together in what looks like, I guess, her apartment, I don't think that like soldiers in the Vietnam War just happen to have nice apartments. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least that's not what Oliver Stone led me to believe on his movies.
Yeah.
I started to wonder, like, when does he have time to court this lady? Like, aren't they fighting a war? Like, he's in a hotbed, right? A hotbed of action. He's a special forces guy or something. He's not just a cook. This is no under siege situation.
But they just happen to have a late 80s decorated nice apartment that they get to live in.
It's like, oh, it's just a war going on. I got time to like lounge around in bed with my lady friend.
Yeah. How about the hold on, I've lost my train of thought on what I typed here. Douchebags. Oh, the guy that shot, like when they're trying to get out of Saigon, and he's up on top of the roof, and then the guy that tries to pull the woman out, or he does pull a woman out, right?
Yeah.
Take her spot, and then Braddock comes over and tosses the guy out. He shoots Braddock, and then that soldier just turns around with that mounted gun and just lights that dude up.
It was like the ending of Bonnie and Clyde there, how much he was blasting the guy.
I mean, like, one shot would have done it. No, like 48 bullets later.
Also, that was a pretty scary location that Braddock got shot in there, the back of the lung.
Yeah. No, he easily survives that.
I would like to kind of rewind a little bit. And if we can't do it now, but just the way you're like, I lost my train of thought with what I wrote here, and then you just kind of whisper douchebag right.
Well, I wrote
right under your breath.
I wrote douchebag something. I was like, who's a douchebag? Oh yeah, the guy that pulled the.
Oh, I thought that was directed at me for getting you off your train of thought by yammering on too much.
Yeah, you fucking douchebag. No. Well, yeah, if you look at my notes, yeah, there's a lot of that shorthand going on there where it's, okay, douchebag number 1, douchebag number 2.
I do like how much, I mean, you know, this was all filmed in a short period of time, but Chuck Norris really does look a lot older when they go to modern day and he's in the bar. And I like it that the priest comes and finds him. And I was like, I don't know, where's this bar at where the priest comes and finds him? Yeah, like, we're in America here, right?
That part makes no sense. Like, how? How the hell would that?
Like, I think you go to the guy's address. I'm imagining he lives in a rundown apartment because all Vietnam vets did in movies in the 80s. And you know, you go knock on the door, you know, and Lieutenant Dan's not at home. I imagine you like sit on the steps and wait for him to come home. You say, I'll come back tomorrow. But no, not this priest. He's going to go drag him out of the bar and give us a little excuse for a fight scene.
Or you just say, well, I tried, and then you move on. But no, he tracks him down.
Man, he really loves that one kid. Why is he not doing this for all the other kids? Don't they have dads too?
And it didn't even look like a proper bar. It looked like a tiki bar or something outside somewhere. Like, so he really had to do his homework to track him down here.
Oh, man.
I just thought you should know you have a wife and child. Good day. And then...
and you know what? I don't know how you guys are. Sometimes I'm a little distrusting. Like sometimes I'm on the lookout for maybe a scam or something. So I may want to ask some follow-up questions and not just jump on a boat to Thailand or whatever he does.
Well, he was dismissive of it until the CIA guy, Little John, screwed the pooch and like called him in like, you may get a crazy reverend.
You know what? I had somehow managed to miss that detail. Yeah. So thank you for helping me with that.
He was going to like pretty much, it sounded like he completely dismissed it. Then this guy calls him in. If you hear some crazy rumors, they're not true. And then he's just like, now I know, you know.
See, I'm the other way. I'd be like, good. That's the get out of jail free card I was waiting for. Now I don't have to go to Thailand.
Yeah. Thank God.
But I do like the Australian guy he meets in Thailand though.
Yeah. Well, Mick, I think's his name.
He's the kind of guy I want flying me around in a decrepit C-37 or whatever that plane was. I'm not an airplane guy. I don't know the names of planes.
I think you're pretty close. I think because I saw somewhere one of the it was a C-47.
Hey, that's pretty good for me. I'm usually off by more than 10.
Yeah. He reminded me of the character. There was a character in the first Missing in Action, Smoke, that was almost this exact same character.
Oh yeah. The gunboat.
Yeah.
Well,
the gunboat guy.
Yeah. Guy. Yeah. True.
And I mean, forget about the story. Just like if I'm actually there making this movie, I'm a little nervous when that plane takes off. Like I'm surprised this isn't the aircraft that crashed because that thing's going sideways and tilting and stuff. And, you know, maybe they were doing it on purpose to kind of look good for the movie, but I felt like that might have been genuine, that plane was barely airworthy.
Yeah, probably.
Well, it was only like, wasn't it like 10 feet from the water?
Yeah.
I also think that this is how all tourism should work, though. If you want to visit a country, you should have to jump out of a plane with a jet boat and then make your way to the shore. Forget about passports.
Yeah, not just a speedboat, but a fucking boat with a jet engine attached to it. Like,
is this a real thing? Because if so, I kind of want one.
Yeah, James Bond level shit with this boat.
And also totally wasted. That chase with that boat was really underdone because I could have gone for a nice extended scene. Like, to me, you say James Bond, that's good. I kind of thought like a Batman type.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
like.
It did feel like Batman 66. Like,
and the gunboats are starting to chase him, and I thought, oh, we're going to get to see him do some cool stuff.
Nope.
It should have been a jet ski also. I think I would have gone better with a jet ski.
He just took off and just left them in the dust. And then,
by the way, he didn't start at first. I like that little twist.
By the way, somebody found an awesome boat. Because didn't he just leave it?
he just leaves
left,
it.
Yeah. Somebody coming, holy shit, there's a jet engine boat sitting here. This is mine now.
When he jumps out of the plane, all I could think was, when you're Chuck Norris, the plane should jump out of you, but that's not what happened.
Yeah. Doesn't quite work. I do love also that you said this should be like the tourist thing when he jumps out. Part of the tourist experience should be "see you in hell," because that's always the line when, like, in these movies, when somebody like, I've helped you as far as I'm going to help you. Now we have to part ways. See you in hell.
Like, I think if you want to go visit Paris, you should have to parachute into the English Channel, climb up the cliffs of Calais or whatever, and just make your way to Paris without being caught by the authorities. So that's how you should have to travel.
Yeah, then you get the big family reunion when he goes and he finds his wife and child, and then General Guac immediately shoots Lynn in the forehead.
And, it's a weird nit to pick when I'm watching this movie because I'm having a lot of fun up until this point. Still having fun. Mm-hmm. But the squib on her forehead looks like a big giant pimple that popped because like the latex or whatever around the squib, it is not smoothed out very well. So it looks like a little tiny volcano. And that took me out of the moment because this was so realistic up until then.
That's where this is canon, full in effect there where they cut weird corners. So I'm sure that's probably one of the corners right there. They needed that $9 million to get all the helicopters from the military.
And I really thought they were going to shoot the kid, but I'm glad they didn't. That's my standing position on shooting kids. I'm glad when you don't.
Story-wise, though, it does, like, you almost kind of expect her to die, but not quite like that.
It seems abrupt.
It was very abrupt, just kind of like, okay, screw her. Pow! Right in the forehead, she's gone. No prolonged, like, torture. No, I'm going to hold her until I get what I want out of Braddock or anything. No, he's just like, bam! She's gone. So it was pretty brutal.
She had a call time the next day for Days of Our Lives. She couldn't stick around and shoot anymore.
Donnie, what did you think of the shotgun share?
Awesome. I mean, it's
sorry. He's like, sorry. We usually have taller people. So he has to lower the shotgun.
It made me wonder how often they use that. Like, I couldn't imagine I don't care how evil and vindictive you are, you got a pretty iron grip on the country. I couldn't imagine you need that more than 3-4 times a year. So it seems like it's got a lot of square footage for something you don't use that often. Like, couldn't you just store it in a shed and then pull it out when you need it?
There needed to be more shit in the room, is what you're saying. Like, they need to maximize their storage space.
It made me start to wonder, like, what is the real estate situation in Vietnam? Maybe they got plenty of it. I don't know. Well, seemed like a lot of square footage wasted on a shotgun chair.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to Rambo where they had a room with just a mattress. It's just the springs of a mattress, and they had tied it to a car battery. So
that was an awesome scene.
There's a room for that. There's a shotgun chair room. There's specific rooms on these bases.
You don't want to be the cleaning lady that has to clean up the shotgun room.
Oh God. That was one detail that they should have had is more like old blood or something on the chair because they're not really.
If it was a Saw movie, they would have had it.
True, it would have
been. In fact, that's a very Saw setup. Now that I say that.
Yeah, you know what? This might have been early ideas or concepts for Saw, just the shotgun chair scene.
And I couldn't see that there was any utility to it other than just simply be sadistic.
No, I guess to get information out of the other guy, but yeah.
But he said, I'll give you information. He still wanted to do it anyway. Yeah. That's how he gets his jollies.
Yeah. And then, didn't it didn't even go off when he finally forced him down?
Yeah.
So it was just a
mess. He just fucked all the way from the beginning.
Yeah. He's just saying, take the boy out of here. And that was it. He didn't get anything out of it really, other than just to fuck with him, like you said. But of course,
he even get very very adamant, very impatient, Guac or whatever. While he's sitting up there tapping and banging on the thing, he expected it to go off, but yet all the time he's just playing the long game, I guess,
Of course they escape, but Van, there's a bunch of other kids that they have captive now because they took a bunch of kids from the orphanage. And so now they escape, but they managed to get Van and the other kids. So now Braddock has to go get them out. How about when he goes to the to get the kids, right? Braddock he's busted into the base. I think he's taken out a couple guys. And then there's a guy that goes up, takes one of the younger girls up, and he's about to have his way
abuse
with
her. Yeah.
He comes in with a grenade launcher.
That's the best scene of the movie, man.
It's not even, it's beyond a grenade launcher. This thing's a super gun. I don't know what kind of gun this is that he's got.
And I thought maybe it had like a big bayonet blade that came out of it or something too. The noise it made.
It did.
It was like a six-blade bayonet.
With a grenade launcher strapped to the bottom of like an AK-107, whatever the hell he's got. I mean, it's a super
But it was
gun.
a great scene because you get the delayed explosion after he's already dead.
Yeah, so
Waste of a good grenade.
I think he shot a grenade or something at the first guy, right, and just kind of disarmed him. Like that guy went flying. Then the last guy, the rapist, he shoots him with the grenade launcher in the gut. He flies out the window or the door. I think out the door, right?
Beautiful.
Lands. And then, boom, then he blows up.
But he lays there for a minute and you think it's over and then boom.
Yeah.
The delayed explosion is what sold it to me.
Wasn't he also the one to get the switchblade bayonet in the stomach, the rapist guy first?
Yes,
Then
yes.
Yeah.
With the grenade and then out the door and then, boom.
Yeah. And
That's when you want to make sure that a pest is dead.
Yeah. They really wanted to drive it home. Like this guy was a piece of shit and he deserves everything he's about to get, So, and he got it. But that was crazy though. Like the grenade the impact of the grenade launched him through the door and out into the courtyard or whatever the hell. And then he proceeds to lay waste to the entire army base. I mean, he probably killed 30 or 40 guys with this super
It was
gun.
great. I mean, from a guy like me who can really detach himself from the reality of what's going on and just enjoy an action movie, I wish that I'd seen this more in the time that it was made. Like I could just sit and watch this kind of stuff all day long.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If anything, if there's any knock on this movie, there's not quite enough of that. Like you want more of that in this type of movie. If you're going to do it, do it.
I kind of wanted more like mano a mano stuff though. I wanted a little John Wick has spoiled me for this kind of thing. Imagine Chuck Norris in his prime making a John Wick style thing where he has to fight his way through the camp with improvised weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Would be good stuff. General Guac when he finally gets away. Braddock!
That was a very A-Team moment for some reason to me.
Yeah, there really was. You've brought that up a couple of times. There really was an A-Team vibe to this, wasn't there? You're right about
Yeah,
that.
of course, on the A-Team, they all jumped when it exploded. Nobody died. But if you actually had casualties, that's what this felt like.
Yeah.
All the gasoline fires going up, the sort of the trope of the slow moving car hits a bush and explodes in a giant fireball. That actually happens in this movie.
And it is appropriate that you bring up the A-Team because they go up, they hijack a plane and go up with all the kids and everything, and then it crashes. So that would have been A-Team.
And Braddock driving the big personnel carrier thing, like the canvas covered truck through the water, and the helicopters are shooting at him. And in 1988, I wouldn't have known any better. But now, as an adult, seeing the news coverage and stuff, I don't think helicopters miss trucks when they shoot rockets at them.
Braddock gets injured
15 or 20 times, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They launched, but it was a lot.
Kind of fast forward to the end there where Braddock gets injured by a grenade, but he still stands up. And they're having this big showdown on the bridge. Across the bridge, is Thailand that he's trying to go to? Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, they're at the border of I guess Vietnam and Thailand, and nobody can come across this bridge, but of course they've got to get over there with the kids and everything to get them to safety. Of course, Braddock manages to take down General Guac in the chopper. There's this mid-air face-off, there's a game of chicken between a couple of American helicopters, and General Guac's they won't dare do a thing to me. And then he just kind of turns around, and Braddock
kind of anticlimactic, actually.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's a big kind of moment, but yeah, it's not as big as you would expect.
I wanted to see the kids running across the bridge while he laid cover fire at the helicopter or something. Or even better, I kind of wanted to see him just start grabbing kids and slinging them across the river.
He could have easily done it, but he didn't want to show that kind of muscle here.
Plus Guac, you wanted to see him go out in a more glorious way, just from him being the douchebag asshole that he is. But
Once again, I'll compare it to Rambo. Like, wasn't it Rambo 2 or 3 where there's a face-off with the helicopter, right?
Yeah.
I think it's 3.
I think it is, and that was the same year. Didn't this movie came out in '88, right?
Yeah.
They had very different budgets though in those two movies.
Well, yes. One is canon, and one, one is something good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 8.
It would have been good if Guac had done like the ha ha ha, like with his mouth open real big, and you see a rocket from the other helicopter fly into his mouth and blow his head off. That would have been cool.
And then that Chataway song starts up again. Freedom,
give me the eagle to ride to church
and freedoms. That would have been that would have been a lot better ending there. But yeah, of course Braddock picks up the shotgun. He's got the machine gun and he manages to take the chopper down. Then they all run across the bridge safely into Thailand. Then you get the 15,000 Asian kids are still being held.
And I kind of wonder when they throw that postscript up there, what they want me to do about it. Cause you never met me really very much in person, but I am not Chuck Norris. Like I feel like the Guac would probably beat me up if I went over there.
Probably, but I think the intent was for everybody to pick up machine guns and go to Vietnam.
Go back to Vietnam.
Yeah, that's what this was all about. To start the Vietnam War all over again over these poor kids. Well, there you go. That's Braddock Missing in Action 3 from 1988. So here on Canon Fodder, we have a slightly different scale. It's more of the sliding Canon scale, as we like to say. So it's like we're not comparing this to like legitimate cinema or really anything else that we do here on the show. This is more like comparing it to the other Canon movies that we watched and stuff like that. And so it's 0 to 5 cannonballs instead of stars. We give out cannonballs here. So Bruce, since you're the guest, we'll let you go first. 0 to 5, how many cannonballs do you want to give it?
I loved every minute of this movie. I mean, I will be watching this again. I joked about that I had to buy it, but now I'm glad I can watch this thing anytime I want to, and I will. And I'm going to see if I can get the MP3 of that closing song to annoy my family with. But I'm going to give this 4 1/4 cannonballs.
Donnie, what do you say?
Oh, man. I don't think I can give it any less than 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a ride from the opening bell. But yeah, I'm at 5 cannonballs.
Tiana, what do you say?
I give it 2.
What?
Not a big fan.
I love Chuck Norris movies. One is a little for me.
It's a bit much too much Chuck. Is that what you're insinuating?
No, not too much Chuck. Just the story, I guess. Just kind of gets boring after a while.
Smoke, what do you say?
I enjoy this one. It's if I were rating, I need to see the 2 again because I don't remember the last time I saw Missing in Action 2. So I don't really know if I like this one better or not as good as Missing in Action 2. I definitely like the first one the best. And Bruce, I recommend you for those.
Yeah,
you might
definitely.
Part 2 you might not like as much. It's not as good. I can see why Canon decided to go with this. The one that they decided to go with as far as those Missing in Action is great. And I can't remember what I gave it, but I'm pretty sure I probably gave it 5.
You gave it, yeah. We all gave it 5, except Austin Trunick actually gave it 4. But the rest of us gave it 5 cannonballs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that's what I forgot that Austin gave it 4. That's actually where I'm at in line with this one. So I'll give Braddock Missing in Action 4 cannonballs.
I think, man, it's good, but like, to me, there's too many slow kind of boring moments in it to quite go 5.
Really?
It's just not as nonstop as I was kind of expecting it to be, especially for this.
I thought, go ahead.
Just for this time period, like I'm thinking like, man, 1988, you've got the other Rambo movies, the other Missing in Action, all these type of movies that are very similar. I had more of a vision of like just more nonstop,
Yeah.
Even though you could argue there's probably a slightly better story going on here, they're actually trying to make a moral point or something right here. Like, I get exactly how we're supposed to help. Like Bruce said, I don't know, but at least there was some kind of real, quote unquote, real life issue going on here that they were trying to, put on the front burner here. But I don't know. I think I'm going to go 4. I'm going to be more in line with what Smoke just said. But that being said, I would watch this again. It's a blast. Yeah. There's just not as much as I would like to see. I think there were more grenade launcher scenes, right? I just want a little bit more of that, and I'm totally on board with a 5. But for me, it's still great.
Yes, it definitely more of that jet boat would have been great, like we were talking about earlier.
Like
if you had awesome. Or even an M60, some kind of machine gun mounted to it, where he like.
I mean, once you spent the money to make the jet boat, you should ride it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, somebody randomly found an awesome gift hiding in the bushes. And I like to imagine, too, that Canon really left that thing, just left it sitting there. Fuck it, next scene.
That was a personal gift to Ferdinand Marcos.
Yeah. So there you go. I think overall we, except for Tiana, she only gave it 2 cannonballs. But I think for the most part, we all agree this is roughly about 4.5 cannonballs. So we highly recommend it. And I dare say Will and Austin, whenever they get a chance to finally give their input on it, they're probably going to be about the same, if not higher. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. But before we leave this one completely in the dust.
Canon Connections.
All right, so Canon Connections, probably no surprise here. We got Chuck Norris on the cast side. With Invasion USA and Missing in Action, both previous Canon Fodder episodes. And then on the crew side, we've got director Aaron Norris, also dating back to Invasion USA, where he was a writer, and he also did the stunts, he's part of the stunt crew for Missing in Action. So that's what we got.
All right, well, I guess that'll pretty much wrap it up here for this go around with Canon Fodder. Obviously, Bruce, we want to thank you for joining us. It was a blast having you on, and hopefully we got to do this again soon.
Absolutely.
And once again, we encourage everybody to go check out his short film, Werewolf Fighter. You can watch it on YouTube. Like I said, the link should be down in the show notes, unless I forgot. If so, that's my bad. But should be down there. Go check it out. If not, you can search it on YouTube. Where else can they find you, Bruce?
You can find me on Hero Movie Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of movies, not just hero movies these days. So you can look for that too. But Werewolf Fighter's the most fun of the things I'm promoting right now.
If you guys want permission, you can start doing your own Canon Fodder or some subsidiary of such.
I want to do like Full Moon Fever, where we cover Charles Band's work.
Oh, God. That's a wonderful title. It's coming to the YouTube channel soon. Full Moon Fever.
Sign me up if you do that, because I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to Charles Band.
Please don't give us another idea. We might run with it. So we've got enough on our plate.
You can even back to his old stuff, like Wizard Video and all that.
Yeah, Empire is some of the best stuff.
So before I bid everyone the final adieu, we need to tease what we're going to be talking about next week. And episode 196 next Monday will be Will's choice, They Live. From also, ironically,
nice
1988. So apparently we've got we're in a mood for 1988 these days. But yeah, that'll be coming up next week. So another John Carpenter classic starring Rowdy Roddy Piper, Keith David. So we'll be finally getting around to that one. So that's one I think we've all wanted to talk about for a while.
Oh yeah,
gonna be a blast. So
one more thing to close out of this.
Yep.
Talking about Keith David. Did y'all catch Keith David's cameo in this movie and Missing Action 3?
He was at the gate.
Yeah, which is crazy because I'd say he'd built up a fair amount of cachet at this point, wouldn't you think? I mean, after The Thing, and I know They Live hadn't come out yet, but you think he's a big enough name to just be the dude that checks the clipboard at the gate in Braddock? It should have been a bigger part.
I don't know what that was about. Weird. I didn't know he was even in this movie until we were watching it or whatever. We saw it, but he was only in it for that scene. And I'm like, well, I don't know. He's a big fan of Chuck Norris, and he just wanted to be in a Chuck Norris movie. He happened to be in the area when they were shooting this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really felt like he was just in the area, and they said, "Come on, it'll be fun."
Yeah. Either that, or he wanted like a free vacation to the Philippines for, a week or so.
We're talking about these guys don't give away anything for free, man.
Yeah.
Look at who we're talking about.
True. All right, well, that's enough. So for Will, who couldn't join us, Donnie, Tiana, Professor Smoke, and for Bruce, I'm Josh. We are from the All-American Spook Show podcast. We'll talk to you next week for They Live.
Please replace the speaker on its rack when you're ready to leave. Failure to do so will damage both the speaker and your car. We'll be grateful, and so will the patrons who follow you.